I think this is more interesting if we put things into F as well. This will also trigger 80% of the population because they play red.
A few moments later.
Okay, I have to admit, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I can probably bump it up a little bit, but we'll see. This is just the first dungeon. It might be roast into glasses, right? All right, fine. This is a big upgrade, lol. This is such a big upgrade, lol. No, it's not S. No, not even close. But I mean, I guess it is close, right? This is the closest that it can get to S. Let's see. So we're looking at all of the specs as potential candidates for a main next season. Now, I'm taking S tier as the definitive main candidate, the potential winner, but obviously this is like the first pass. I want to check all of the playstyles in 11.2. Maybe we're going to get a couple of changes for some of the specs. Some of the specs are still undergoing reworks. So that might change how things are. Tuning might change it a little bit. I don't want to play the bottom of the barrel type spec. I have a couple of classes that I would probably just play no matter what. And I think I'm probably just going to start with those, or I'm going to put those first into S tier. Just looking for a class to play with 1 button rotation. Get out of here, man. As it stands right now, I think arms is... There's a lot of tiers here. It's 4 tiers. I don't know. I'll put it into D tier and Warrior and Fury also into D tier, but Prot Warrior is looking to be an S tier spec. This would be the class that... this would be the spec that would get me to main a tank. It's this and or one more down the road. With the Prot rework, it's looking like it's going into the right direction. I love the execute changes that we've tested yesterday. If they balance Mountain Thane and Colossus to be more or less the same power level, that would be great because the playstyles are fairly different. With Mountain Thane, you can play... Well, obviously, you don't have to play the bleed style build, but you can also play execute because it has an execute empowering hero talent. Rogue would have been the other one. Now, I'm starting off with the Rogue on all of them on A tier. I'm leaning hard towards sub, but I just haven't played Assassination and Outlaw enough to be fully convinced, because I feel like if I start playing Outlaw, I might just very well be convinced. Also, Marcelian and I are looking to push M+ again next season fairly hard. I mean, I would hope so. I mean, that would be my goal. And he might also play Rogue. I don't think he wants to heal anymore. We're going to have a video on that, by the way. But as it stands right now, there's a good chance that he might also play Rogue. So I kind of don't want to play the same class. I don't think it would help very much. Thane plays so much better with Thunderclap doing something I really miss. Yes, that was my impression. Because looking at the tier set for a Mountain Thane on protection, it just feels that you're just Thunderclapping while Colossus just gets like bleed interaction and synergy interaction. That was really cool. Well, if I would have to play a healer, it would be one of the 3: Mistweaver, Resto Druid, Resto Shaman. We'll get to that as well. Hunter. I think Marksman. I think they're kind of all... I want to say B tier. I think I'm not particularly a big fan of how they're doing Beast Mastery to, be able to play with lower cooldowns. Like, I like Hunter a little bit, but I feel like they need to do a little bit more to it. I haven't actually hopped onto the PTR and tested Marksmanship yet, because I understand that they moved a bunch of points around in the talent tree. Maybe that makes it a little bit more interesting to build. Demon Hunter. This depends, because I was a big Havoc fan. I'm gonna put it in C tier regardless. There's a chance that Havoc could be very interesting if they make it not super bland, because I feel like Havoc has received the BM treatment where just reduce the amount of buttons that you have on your bar and it plays the best, and I'm not a fan of that. This tier list is for my potential main next season. We're starting this going forward. This is based on a German. Yes, this is also based a little bit on performance, but is not solely dictated by performance. All right. Passive spec for BM. Yeah, that doesn't look dope for me. I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of passive classes that play themselves for me. I like to actively be engaged in it. Otherwise, what's the point of playing? If I press one button and 17 things happen in the background. I think outside of a big rework, it's not looking like it. Similar with Feral. As much as I like the specs, they're just way too boring. Resto Druid, though, Balance are looking way better as potential specs. Balance at least has one of the most interesting tier set bonuses. Balance and Mage, I believe, have the best tier sets, just, on paper right now with their effects. You summon Dryads as balance. That's pretty cool. Wait, is Dryads? No, Dryads is for Keeper of the Grove, I think, no? Probably. Let's see. Frost Decay is looking really good. And I actually have high hopes for Unholy. I am kind of putting it here because Unholy is undergoing some reworks, and I'm pretty sure that the current situation of Unholy is not going to go through. I don't think I have ever seen the community being so against something that Blizzard dictated on so fervently, like they are against the Unholy right now. And Blizzard have turned back some of their design decisions on less. So I am 100% sure that the current version that's Unholy on the PTR is not going to make it to live. So they're going to change it. If Unholy gets kind of like a similar treatment that Frost has, with like actual cool changes that address core of its issues and build it into a more modern version of itself, hopefully not dumbing it down, because right now it's just so silly. You have Apocalypse that replaces, just talked with Marcelian yesterday because he played it too, and he said this, and I didn't really realize it when I was playing it, but Apocalypse replaces Dark Transformation, and Legion of Souls, aka the new Abomination limb, replaces your army or Abomination. So essentially you have 2 fewer cooldowns that you actually press. So this is looking awfully like Red Paladin. And I'm not a big fan of that. That's so boring, reducing the numbers that I press. Like, I'm not super happy that they did that to Paladin and made that the best build. I'm fine with classes being a little bit simpler, but if they go too hard on that, I'm not a big fan. And Blood, I think Blood has potential. I think I need to play a little bit more Blood, and we are going to be playing some tanks on the PTR this week, so maybe I'll get more attention to Blood Decay. I haven't played since Battle for Azeroth. Do you think WoW is in a better state now? 100%. I've been considering coming back. It's way different, yeah. I might actually main Frost this season. Looks interesting. Yeah, it's looking pretty good, right? The change they made to MMR sick. Black Arrow activating trick shots, explosive shot activating luck. What the? Whoa. Okay, JBeast. I might give marksmanship a priority in terms of testing. I have become a much bigger fan of Evokers, honestly, and what they're doing to Devastation is looking kind of interesting. And if they make Augmentation a little bit more interesting, I might actually consider it. I'm gonna put it there actually. I've lost a lot of hope for Preservation though. They've changed the design from when it got released to what it is now, and it feels like every time they're making it slightly more boring because it was probably way too complex to play, but that's what I found fun. To be fair, this is me being very generous to the Evoker class, because one thing that I'm not actually considering while putting them up here is their range. Because if I have to consider range while doing mechanics, I might drop them down a tier, each of them. So that would probably be C, Aug D, and Preservation E. Holy Paladin, I might change my mind here. I'm currently putting it into E tier. I love the Paladin fantasy, but I just feel like they're not really hitting it with Holy Paladin. I feel like I have to scratch myself like this to be able to play Holy Paladin properly. Feels like I have to do way too much work for way less reward than with other healers. And in a world where healing is more punishing than it has been before, I'm not a fan of working a lot for not very little gain. Red, although it's similar to Rogue with me, Marcelian might end up playing Red again. I'm not sure. He's not sure either. So I don't want to play the same class as him, but I don't know if I can play Red, honestly. I can play it as an alt, but it's just way too simple for me. I think I'll probably put it alongside a Holy, and Paladin right now is one of the top classes that I like in terms of fantasy, but I just cannot get behind how these specs play. I'd say Paladin is one that plays itself at a base level. Yeah, well, that's Red. Like, I don't think I agree with Holy Paladin or Pro Paladin. I think Holy Paladin and Pro Paladin are one of the hardest classes to play, but though I really do love Pro Paladin as a spec. I just don't like to feel squishy, and I don't like to feel like if I don't heal myself, I'll die. 18 finished 11 million overall. In season 3 PTR, holy shit! Yeah, but see, those numbers are not relative. They might keep it like that, but there's gonna be like a lot of tuning passes. And from what I heard, marksmanship has some weird interactions where you do more damage than you're supposed to. But we'll see. Discipline kind of always has only been fun from what I've talked with Marcelian. If you can play Oracle and play the Bubble Absorb Shield that got nerfed, and then it seems like it's gonna still get nerfed, that would be kind of like the only way that I can play Discipline as a fun class. And Holy for me is just not quite there. I like the fantasy of Holy, but I feel like they're just not. This is just way too many buttons. I feel like Holy legit might have button bloat. Shadow though is looking really good. It's very, very close. I feel like it's very close to becoming a potential main with the rework. I just really hope that they would make the capstones a little bit more interactable. They're just way too passive. If they remain passive, then Shadow's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a main. They took away Mind Spike, which I had a problem with. I didn't particularly like playing Mind Spike. And if they buff, so I think Shadow needs two things, and that can bump it to S tier for me. It would need the Shadowy Apparitions playstyle to be relevant, and it would need the Idle Capstones to be more interactable and not that passive. If they make those two changes to Shadow, it's instantly a main candidate. I thought both Frozen and Holy were easy specs that played themselves. What do people mean when you say a spec plays itself? How is a spec playing itself? With Frost at the very least, in 11.2, you have decision making to make, so it's not playing itself. You need to respond properly to your procs, or you lose a lot of damage, and you kind of still have to do that now in 11.1.7. And Unholy, probably if you play the Sandlane degenerate playstyle in season 2, then yeah, that kind of plays itself a little bit, but that's just like a degenerate version of Unholy. That's not really what Unholy is. Unholy also has procs and resources that you normally manage. The problem with Unholy right now is that they're making these resources weird and cumbersome, and they're taking away buttons, so it looks like it might end up in a place where it mostly plays itself, but I would be careful about using that type of expression to judge a spec, because it definitely isn't true for DK, whereas it might be true for Red, because no matter what really happens on Red, you kind of just do the same thing every time. The only thing that matters is, do you have one target to hit or more? That's, I feel, kind of the only decision you're ever making with Red. That's something that I would consider it plays itself. Yeah, I'm going to wait before final tuning. Tuning is an important part. It's not going to be the end factor, but yes, if you're looking to be able to perform decently, then you cannot choose right now. And I'm not choosing right now either. I'm just kind of like putting them into perspective and making them around here. Monk, holy shit, dude. Yeah. The Windwalker is very delicate. For Windwalker, they need to make both your talents viable and competitive, and some more talent diversity, which is kind of true right now in season 2, but only if you're fine with losing about 5% DPS. You can play Shadow Pan and Mythic Plus, or at least you could. Last time I mained Windwalker at the beginning of the patch. I haven't simmed myself since then, but it used to be very close. Close enough where if you swapped, your overall performance might not be too noticeable. However, if you are pushing past your limit, then you probably want to play the best one, right? So you're kind of not really incentivized to play Shadow Pan if you're pushing content. Brewmaster is obviously under the magnifying glass right now because it's undergoing a rework and it's not there yet. However, it feels a little bit better than it does on live, and I already like playing Brewmaster on live. So that's a good plus. Plus, I couldn't get my my head out of Mistweaver ever since I started playing it a little bit for a video. And I need to play a little bit more of it because it's kind of like that chick in the red dress that you see passing you on the street, and you're like, bro, I'm not gonna be that kind of a creep that turns its head around to look at her as she passes you by, but she's constantly on your mind. Just fuck, that chick in the red dress, bro. Fuck, dude. Oh, fuck. I kind of want more of it, right? That's kind of what Mistweaver is right now for me. This is probably the most apt description. You cannot get people to have a sophisticated opinion about everything, especially if they don't care about it. That's just not how humans are. And that's fine, so long as you recognize that. It's fine for us to shit on BM and Red for being incredibly simple specs, so long as like, okay. You cannot just play with your eyes closed, right? The difference between somebody that really knows what they're doing on Red and BM is going to really show on the DPS meter and overall performance. Reds that don't dispel their poisons are Marcelian's bane right now. I feel that whenever we play in a group with a Paladin, not just Red, but Red in this case, that doesn't use dispel for poisons or Bob for bleeds, I feel like Marcelian is slowly scratching the back of his eyelid with a rusty nail, trying to damage his cornea so he doesn't have to watch the goddamn Red that doesn't use its toolkit shit. So yeah, that applies to BM as well. Hunters that don't use enough traps to CC mobs, that barely use Trank Shot, that don't know how to use Misdirect, that use bursting shot and then just spread the mobs out of all of the ground AoEs that everybody else has, like the Death and Decays, the Brain of Fires and all that. That just drives me up the wall. So yes, there are people who claim that these specs are incredibly easy, but they don't fully engage with the spec. But that doesn't mean that the specs are necessarily complex, because if you can see that about all of the specs, if you fully engage with all of the specs, that pretty much all of the other specs are way more complex than red and BM. Almost. Is this what to main tier list? No, this is just like what I'm looking at the moment. It's mostly fun. We don't know what any of the performance will be for next season. Warrior that bad? This is not DPS. This is not a DPS tier list, guys. Relax. Based on a video you guys did the other day regarding the Unholy Decay, so surprised to see the spec so high up there. Thanks for the great content. That's why I'm putting up there. Like I made this disclaimer for Unholy. The only reason it's high up there is because I know that the current rework is not going to stick, and I'm just happy that they're looking at Unholy. It's a big dose of copium that the rework is going to make it fun, right? Because a lot of the things that they reworked in DK are things that I don't personally like, because there are similar things that happen to red and BM, like reducing the amount of buttons that you have a little bit too much. And people have, like, I don't know how much they feedback that particular issue, but they feedback a lot of the issues. And I'm hoping that they can take this and simplify the specs in the future, but don't turn every spec into red, because I'm going to lose my mind. I don't know if I can play it in the future if they do that. All right, Warlock. Bro, I think Warlock as a class that I used to main died for me with how they've changed Demo in Dragonflight and how they constantly look at it. They're taking away Inferno from Destro, and I haven't seen them do anything in its place properly. I like the Destro Rain of Fire spam playstyle. That felt silly and fun. And I'm not against taking that away and giving it another way to do crazy AoE damage, but I don't know if I've seen that yet. I'm not a fan of Malefic Rapture, and I don't know, man. Warlock used to be a class that I really liked in the past, but I don't think it's it at the moment. Frost Mage. Yeah, Mage is the other class that I've started maining in the War Within, and it's kind of the class that I want to go back to. Mage and Monk. Not much to be said outside of the tier sets being the other good tier set bonuses that they've added. At least that are interestingly enough. I'm curious to see how Fire Mage shooting Glacial Spikes is and how Frost Mage shooting Pyroblasts is. That will be interesting. I predict a little bit of brokenness there, but we'll see how they end up tuning that shit. And Shaman, very close to being a potential main. I might bump Resto down a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of want to play a class that can heal again. It's just I'm not a big fan of the current healing situation. I'm noticing that there's nothing in F tier. Would I rearrange this for something to be in F tier? Without playing everything more recently, I can only put the red here. Maybe if I really think about it, red and Unholy. I don't think red is gonna get anything complex to it again. They're even nerfing Divine Hammer. I guess there isn't really a spec that I would 100% not main at all, gun to my head. So I think maybe F tier being empty is fine. This is how it's looking at the moment. We need PTR testing to figure out more. I think this is more interesting if we put things into F as well. This will also trigger 80% of the population because they play red.
A few moments later.
Okay, I have to admit, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I can probably bump it up a little bit, but we'll see. This is just the first dungeon. It might be roast into glasses, right? All right, fine. This is a big upgrade, lol. This is such a big upgrade, lol. No, it's not S. No, not even close. But I mean, I guess it is close, right? This is the closest that it can get to S.